In this video, I'm going to discuss the W210 E55 AMG, which is a car people often ask me about. In this video, I'm going to cover a few details on the W210 and why they are becoming more appreciated by enthusiasts. If you go back to the early 90s, good 500e Mercedes are quickly becoming collector cars. Low-mile W124 500e Benzes regularly sell for big money these days because of their style and Porsche tuning. $57,000 US for 60,000 miles is a recent example of this appreciation in value. So what is the next Mercedes that could follow this trend? I argue that it could possibly be the W210 E55. This might sound a little crazy, but there has been a recent auction that has been getting a lot of attention among enthusiasts of older Mercedes. This bring-a-trailer auction of a 2001 W210 E55 with 49,000 miles. It sold for a whopping $21,250 plus the 5% auction fee. This particular example was very clean and well kept. However, this car was not perfect. It had a small damage incident on the report and a high number of owners, 9 owners before the auction and now 10 owners after. If this E55 had a spotless record and only 1 or 2 owners, it could have sold for even a few thousand more. I think that the W210 E55 has the potential to be a future classic. The reason is that the W210 is really the end of an era of truly old school Mercedes. It has basically the last of the traditional interiors with a high quality look and feel that Mercedes was known for in the 1980s and the 1990s. Mercedes after the W210, such as the W220 and W211, were part of the next era of Mercedes moving into the 21st century with a sharper focus on power and features. The W210 E55s were also the last of an era because they were the last AMG sedans to spend time in a Fahrzeug as whole cars where they were completed and inspected. The cars were received from Mercedes as just shells, and then the complete suspension and engine and body was fitted to the cars. After the W210 E55, this process was completely changed. AMG sedans and coupes became completed on the normal Mercedes assembly lines alongside normal non-AMG Mercedes. AMGs after the W210 would just have their engines hand-built in a Fahrzeug, and then the engines would be brought to meet the cars at their respective factories elsewhere. So, in the respective production, the W210 E55 is again the end of an era and a very special car for this fact. At the time, the W210 E55 was a competitive car, especially against its main rival, the E39 BMW M5. Both were sedans that had C5 Corvette performance. In the March 2000 issue of Road and Track magazine, they actually preferred how the W210 E55 handled the corners with less understeer compared to the M5, which sounds shocking to read today, but the E55 actually weighed almost 400 pounds less than the M5, so their analysis does make sense. Ultimately, in this magazine, they chose the M5 as their favorite because of the engine and the manual gearbox. However, it's very interesting to see how closely they evaluated these cars in this article. The E55 W210 underwent a facelift for 2000 onwards, which featured quite a few differences compared to the 99 and earlier models. The changes to the car were mostly cosmetic, including a new front bumper, new rear bumper and taillights, and new side skirts and mirrors. The black door handles also became painted for 2000 onwards. The interior features a different steering wheel with audio controls on the steering wheel and an updated gauge cluster. The transmission also became manually shiftable for 2000. Otherwise, there were a few more subtle changes. 2000 onwards cars are worth a little more than the 1999 cars on the used market. The W210 E55 is a pretty rare car with only just under 4,000 cars delivered to the US. In 2017, Doug DeMuro wrote an article titled, "I really miss my 2001 Mercedes E55 AMG." He said that his E55 was one of the only cars he ever regretted selling. Jay Leno also owns a W210 E55 and keeps it among his prized collection. I think that these cars are becoming a little more appreciated now by enthusiasts, as they were previously overshadowed by the W211 E55 and the M5. Good examples of the W210 E55 are going to be hard to find. But if an opportunity comes up, I totally understand this car. Classic Teutonic simplicity. It's a car that's growing on me. Another good thing about these W210 E55s is that they are supremely reliable and dependable cars. I already think the W211 E55 is a reasonable car to own, but take away the supercharger and the air suspension, and you essentially have a truly bulletproof machine. The only real downside to the W210 E55 is the rust problems due to their water-based paint process. However, with low-mile cars that are well kept in a garage, this is not as much of a concern. Otherwise, the W210 E55 has the normal Mercedes quirks of this era, such as weeping valve cover gaskets. I'd love to do a more in-depth video on a W210 E55 this year, but for now I hope this was informative. Leave a comment below what AMG you think is special and could potentially be a future classic. Otherwise, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this.